we as Africans have now started to appreciate ourselves. We've now started to rediscover ourselves. We've now started to understand that what was stolen from us really doesn't matter as much as we can bring it back to being.
Joining me today are the cast of The King's Horseman.
Hi everyone, my name is Deyemi Okolawon. I play Olunde in The King's Horseman, showing at the Toronto International Film Festival.
My name is Odunlade Adekola. I played Elesin Oba in The King's Horseman.
Hi there, my name is Omo Midede, and the film The King's Horseman, I play the bride.
Heartiest congratulations on the world premiere of your film at the festival.
Thank you.
Now, this is a great moment of celebration for the Nigerian film industry, but I have to mention at this point the tragic passing away of the director, B.A. Bandel, only weeks ahead of the premiere.
Last night was so emotional. It was so emotional for all of us. I tried to fight back the tears, it didn't quite work, and it's because we were seeing what B had birthed, you know, and unfortunately we were seeing it without him. And you are right, this would have been the crowning glory, but for many different reasons. He is actually a student of Wole Soyinka. Wole Soyinka happens to be one of his mentors. When he took on this project, you could see that it was more than just another film for him. It was a fulfillment of purpose on many different levels. B was a great guy. It's weird to say it was, but he was a great guy. He is an actor's director. I mean, there's several instances, you know, I've worked with him a few times, but in this case, I remember every time you get on set, every time I got on set, you know, with an idea of what the performance would be, we've had tons of conversations. And then to get on set, B would allow you to give your own interpretation, and if he's fine with it, you know, he'll let it go. Yeah, okay. But then if you want something different, he would. It's happened several times. He'll walk up to you and whisper in your ear, and every time he whispered something, it would just elevate, change, but it elevates, you know, the meaning of the scene.
There is nothing as amazing as having a director that, as much as is channeling your craft through what he has planned, his vision for the film, but he also lets you put your creative ingenuity to work. He also appreciates and respects your craft. I never saw him snap at anyone on set. I never saw him yell at anyone. He was so cool and he was so chill, and he was extremely passionate about this piece. He was the first person to get to set and he was the very last person to leave. He had such an amazing energy, and if I would describe him as an animal, I would say he's a dove. And I believe that he is happy in heaven right now as we're celebrating, although we wish he was here.
For me, I believe B. Bandele is still alive. Because the great work is there for everyone to see. He's a wonderful person. He was a wonderful person on set. Like she said, he will allow you to think. He will come to you. Hello, what do you think about this particular scene? What do you think? How do you think we can do it? He will always give you the director part. He's the director, but he will ask you, he will want you to direct that particular scene. We missed you. Seriously.
What a wonderful way to remember such an amazing person, with not just an amazing filmmaker, but an amazing personality as well. Talking about the film, the audience will be able to watch this on Netflix soon. Tell us more about the story behind the film and what the film is exactly about.
Elesin Oba, the King's Horseman, is a story that takes us back into the colonial era, when the British decided they owned our land. It's a story that needs to be told from our perspective. I think the time has come for Africans, especially us Nigerians, to start to tell our stories. Elesin Oba is a testament to this rediscovery of our voice. every name of the film, speaks African, speaks Nigerian. It's really important that there is representation across the world, that every person gets to be heard, and our stories need to be told.
One thing this film has taught me is that everybody is important, and every culture around the world, every race is important. The fact that you don't understand what they're doing doesn't mean it is less of what you think it should be. Everyone should be respected, regardless of the race or tribe or the languages they're speaking. And the truth is, your language, your mother tongue, is super important to you. It is the essence of your being. I grew up in a time where in primary school, they say speaking Yoruba, for example, because I'm a Yoruba girl, speaking Yoruba in schools is vernacular and it's forbidden. We need to embrace ourselves more. We need to embrace the Africanness in us as Africans. If you're Asian, yes, embrace the Asianness in you. If you're Chinese, embrace whoever it is you are. You are important, and whatever it is God has created you to be is just perfect. This film, the world will get to understand this, we'll get to appreciate the diversity in cultures and get to respect each other better, because there is no way that we can thrive as humanity if we cannot love ourselves, respect ourselves, and honor the essence of who we are and our roots.
You play the lead character, that of the King's Horseman, the Horseman, and you play it rather gloriously.
Yes.
Now tell us more about this crucial role that you play in the film, and why is it important to the very narrative?
As Elesin Oba, I appreciate, and everything in Elesin Oba for me is so crucial, and it speaks a lot to the world, and it speaks a lot in that particular movie, interpreting our culture, interpreting who we are to the world, interpreting what we want people to see. And I used to say this, it is me playing Elesin Oba alone. I can't achieve all this without the great actors sitting right here. There's another way to have good story, and there's another thing to have good actors on set. We have great actors here that interprets the role alongside Elesin Oba. So what is happening presently with what we have done in that particular movie, I know is going to change. It's going to change a lot of things about the world, and it's going to change a lot of perspective that people always see in African culture.
The film works on multiple levels. Of course, there is this anti-colonial piece, but there's also a critique of masculine entitlement. And you play the bride to the King's Horseman in the film. Now, what were your thoughts when you were first approached with the script?
The first time I came across the piece was when I was in secondary school. As a literature student, I read Death and the King's Horseman, written by Wole Soyinka. And as a theatre scholar, I studied theatre at university. I studied the piece again. I critiqued it many times. I had also worked on it on stage many times, playing Iyaloja. But so this was my first time playing the bride, and it was a total different experience for me. On film, it's different. I knew that there had to be more to this girl than just the bride. And she symbolized a lot. She symbolized who the girl child was, as at that time. She was silenced. She was almost nothing. Every decision of her life wasn't made by her, but it was made by every other person but her. It was made by her parents. It was made by the community. It was made by the chieftain. Everybody but her. She was probably in love with someone, and she was betrothed to someone, right? Living her life as the beautiful girl that she was. And then Elesin Oba caught her and says he had to have her. She had no say. Not even a whisper could she whisper to her mom. Also, you could see that her mother had no say. Her parents had no say. whatever Elesin Oba wanted was what he wanted. And this showed you how powerful masculinity was over womanhood. But I'm so happy that things have changed. This is 2022, and I can tell you that the fate of every woman, of every girl child, to a large extent, has now been put in her hands. She can tell you, I know that for some culture, it's still a tad questioned, but to a large extent, you can decide what you want to do as a woman. And I'm so excited about that. But then the truth is, I appreciate that this film tells us, or it exposes some of the ills of our society. And, it's not for us to embrace it, but it's for us to correct it. And that is why we have art, to educate us and to enlighten us. But yes, I'm so happy that things have changed now. But it was a lot, playing the bride. Yes, the traditional Yoruba culture appreciates the woman. However, the truth is, as strong as the woman is, she also has to do the bidding of the man, even when she truly knows that that's not what she wants.
That was a very important character, and you played it rather well.
Thank you.
You're the Horseman's son, Olunde, if I'm not mistaken. You study in England, you're Western educated, but yet you understand family values, culture, ties. So how does the character adapt to the anti-colonial narrative that is loud and out there and unapologetic in the film?
The beauty of Olunde is that he has both perspectives. He understands his culture, and of course, he questioned his culture. That's why we see, he left for England. Then he got to England and he saw, things from their perspective, and being able to marry the two, which is what I think everyone should try to do. Understand everyone's perspective. I really can't tell you that I understand why anybody would go and take over another person's land and declare it as theirs, but there must be a perspective there that we need to understand. And every line that Olunde said, I promise you, I wasn't acting, because they were truth. They were truths that I believe, and I was speaking it out of that curiosity that that's exactly where it was coming from. So Olunde really did understand, the African perspective and the British perspective, and he decided that everybody had a right to their own perspectives, to their own traditions, and nobody was better than another.
How much of the original narrative from the play has been retained in the film for the OTT audiences?
Everything. It was just the only thing that is different from the play and the screenplay is that the play was written in English, but the screenplay was written in Yoruba. Well, save the British people, they had to speak English, but other people spoke Yoruba. And the beauty of that is that, for me, I had studied this piece, and Wole Soyinka, I would praise him for his prowess in poetic literature. The piece is so poetic, such that you're reading, you know what he's saying, but you don't quite understand it because it's so poetic, it's so proverbial, right? But when you now convert it to Yoruba, you now understand it. It's like everything is now being translated to your mother tongue. Now you understand what he's saying and the things that he is not saying.
That was B's vision. I mean, he must have realized the truth was Wole Soyinka was thinking in Yoruba,
but
writing in English.
Yesterday, I was filled with so much pride that, wow, see my language in all of its glory. It was so, I'm literally having goosebumps right now. So yes, I would say that the screenplay took the story farther and notches higher. By bringing it down to our roots, it skyrocketed the essence of the piece.
The film will be on Netflix. It will be available for the audiences to watch and enjoy. How is the film relevant to the Netflix audience, the global Netflix audience?
So I know for a fact that this film is telling the African Yoruba culture to the world. This film embodies our culture, our tradition, our music, oh, so beautiful, our chants, the beauty of our words, the clothes that we wear, our food, our marriage traditions and norms, our burial traditions. So if you've never heard of Yoruba or you've never experienced anything Yoruba, by watching this film, you at least you are a quarter a Yoruba man or Yoruba woman, because you will see every bit of the Yoruba culture being explored in this film.
Elesin Oba would enrich, the library of content that is on Netflix. And we've heard different voices from the different films. We've seen Spanish films, we've seen French films, we've seen Korean films, American films. And now we get to see another perspective.
Unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your film.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatima.